Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Monday, April 15th, 2019. Earlier today, did the podcast with Sam Tripoli, his show Tinfoil Hat. Great episode. Please check it out. I'm going to link with the top pinned post Sam's site so you can subscribe and watch the video. It's episode number 182. And he misspelled my name, but that's okay. So if you search the way I spell my name, it might not come up, but I'll get you linked to his show so you can find it. During the show, I asked him if he wanted to talk about the death of Brody Stevens, and he said he'd rather not on the show because it was personal to him. Sam's a comedian. He was friends with Brody Stevens, who reportedly committed suicide earlier this year, February 22nd. I put out a video the day of the news, February 23rd, what I found suspicious about his death. I'm going to make a video one more time for Sam. He's interested in this information. He asked me after the show if I could cover it again for him. So here's what stood out to me. Brody Stevens' death came just before the Oscars. And every year, around award ceremonies, sports championships, we see these really suspicious deaths in the world of celebrity. And Brody Stevens, one of his accomplishments was starring in the Hangover films. The big star in the Hangover films was Bradley Cooper. And notice, Brody Stevens died at age 48. And from Bradley Cooper's most recent birthday, January 5th, to the day Brody Stevens died was 48 days later. And again, Brody died just before the Oscars. At the Oscars, one of the biggest storylines was Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. The film they were in, the music they made together, was there some romance going on? So check this out. With regards to 48, the name of the film they starred in, The Hangover, equals 48. So does Hollywood. So does Illuminati. So does Freemason in Hebrew and in English. And they said Brody Stevens hung himself. The Hangover, hanging. Curious. Now, the other thing is, Brody Stevens reportedly committed suicide February 22nd, but this wasn't in the news until the next day, February 23rd, 2/23, like 223, the 48th prime number. And the other thing about the death of the comedian in the news that day is it was a date with 44 and 64 numerology. Every single month where the date comes around with the 44 and 64 date numerology, you're hearing about the death of celebrities. Sometimes the death is the day of, sometimes the news is the day of, sometimes the news comes a few days after, but then you find out the death was on the date with the 44 and 64 numerology. Notice in Gematria, comedian equals 64 and 44, kill equals 44 and 64. Bradley Cooper turned 44 years old, then 48 days later, his co-star from The Hangover reportedly committed suicide. The name Brody also has that Gematria 64. When the news broke, the death was confirmed by Variety. Variety happened to be 44. The name Stevens carries the Gematria of 23. You heard about the news on the 23rd. And there's a number of other things. February 23rd, 2019 was a date with a life lesson number of 37. Comedian equals 37. Los Angeles 37. He was mostly based out of LA. Enjoy it. The phrase he's known for has that Gematria 37. Masonic also 223, the 48th prime. So there's a number of other things too. Brody Stevens, he did the Chelsea Lately show a lot. I'll let you go back and watch the video I put out the day of if you want more information, but I think the main ritual had to do with the Oscars and Bradley Cooper. Again, check out the song Murder by Numbers, recorded in 1983, Murder equals 83, about how killing's the sport of the elite. It's the way to the top of your profession. It's as simple as putting a little something in somebody's drink, like arsenic. But when these rituals happen, they're also a web, and they often connect to multiple people. So just wanted to share that. And I already see the trolls are on his thing saying that the Pentagon wasn't really 77 feet tall. You can look up 1,000 different sources and verify that the Pentagon was 77 feet tall. From the government website itself to Encyclopedia Britannica, all sorts of websites list that the Pentagon was 77 feet tall. The reason I'm addressing this is because trolls are always working overtime to discredit the truth. In the episode I did tonight with Sam Tripoli, at the beginning we talked about the 77 ritual was September 11th. Again, Flight 77 reportedly hit the Pentagon, which construction began on September 11th, 1941. They said that plane took off at 8:20 and crashed at 9:37. That's 77 minutes later. The Pentagon's 77 feet tall. Washington, D.C. coordinates, 77th meridian. And then Gematria is the real kicker. Again, in the most pure cipher, which is the alphabetic order with the rules numerology, this dark blue one, if you write out September 11th, it equals 77. If you write out World Trade Center, it equals 77. I talked about in Sam's podcast how a couple years ago there was the story about the young girl who was the daughter of a firefighter who died when the World Trade Centers collapsed, and how she died in a pancake eating contest. And check it out, pancake eating contest, 77. They called the collapse theory for how the World Trade Centers fall the pancake theory. You know, this girl supposedly loses her father, and then she dies in a pancake eating contest. All of this stuff is a sick joke. And anyway, again, you can go out there and verify anywhere that the Pentagon was 77 feet tall. However, if you're a lazy researcher, and understand, from the time I started doing this years ago up until about 3 or 4 months ago, if you did a web search on Google and typed in, how tall is the Pentagon, it would always come up as 77 feet. But just recently, they changed it to 71 feet, which is false. And I guarantee you the reason for this new false measurement is because of exposing the ritual of 77 and September 11th. The Pentagon is not 71 feet tall. It's absolutely 77 feet tall. It can be verified in 1,000 different places, including the government's own website. So, hey, just for one more thing, somebody just pointed this out to me. If you go to iPetGoat 2, this short film full of predictive programming, at the 6-minute mark of this video, I'll just play it real quick. You see this spire come crumbling down on this cathedral. And, today we had the spire fire by the numbers. So check out my videos on that if you haven't seen it. Could be a little predictive programming. The powers that shouldn't be are definitely known for it. So look for that top pinned post to get to Sam's site. Be sure to subscribe. Check out the video. Hope you enjoy it. Until next time, Truth Seeker.